All right.
Hi everyone, it's Emma and Shannon from Arise, and we just wanted to come and say hello to everyone, touch base, and just round up our teaching year at Arise. So classes with us ended last week, and we have just been so blown away this year by the caliber of the work that the kids have been handing in, the discussions that we've had, and seeing in so many of the classes the kids really integrating their faith with their learning and the assignments that they've been doing. Wouldn't you say that, Shannon?
Yeah, absolutely. Not only just like in the written assignments, but when they're speaking verbally or they're sharing contextually about current events, whether it's because of family members in foreign lands, or like for world geography, or connections because they know a missionary in a certain place, or they're wrestling with the ideas of the times, like in British history and British literature, where they're wrestling with, wow, that's not really so different from the world today, and how do we respond to those things as believers in our culture and that kind of thing. They can be just little micro phrases sometimes, but you see the glint in their eye that they're getting it, and that is what is really, really exciting.
Yeah.
Really exciting.
Um, at the back end of all that, we are so
We're
the kids are
busy.
we're busy. We are very busy. Kids are still finishing off their assignments. So we finished teaching.
Yeah.
The last classes were literally a week ago today. So
Yeah.
we've got kids just finishing up the last assignments and submitting those, and we're marking stuff. My British literature class marking might take a little bit longer because some of the kids got just so carried away, particularly with the imaginative writing assignment. I got like 12-page stories. I've got an 8 chapter mini book to read,
Mini novels.
mini novels, because they got really into the assignment and it just ran away with them. And it was just, as home educating parents, we think, wow, that's what it's all about, having our kids just get that spark with something and run with it, even if the assignment was not 12 pages long.
It was supposed to be 1,000 words or something, wasn't it?
1,500, yeah. And I got emails from the kids saying, "Oh, I really just got this idea in my head, and I just kept going with it." And I'm like, "Yeah."
But you know what? That's really the difference. Before we dive into all the newsy things, that is really the difference of home educating, is that we're one, many of our kids are pursuing mastery at their level,
Mhm,
not perfection,
mhm,
but mastery, that they really encompass and really gain as much knowledge as they're able to through the process of learning, whatever the subject is. And so that the beauty of home education is that you can slow things down, or in our case maybe extend a due date a few weeks or so, for for some, I mean my son included. um, it was a little bit more than a few weeks, but what the product was, by giving them that time and not the pressure
mhm.
of the time to do well with it. Other times, there is that balance of life, right, where you do need to meet the deadline, you do need to stick to the instructions and that kind of thing, and that comes around. But the beauty is that we can have the flexibility with the learning process, either side of that, and scale it one direction or the other. So yeah.
Your boy was the 8 chapter mini book, the novella.
8 chapter mini book, and then he told me it was going to be 15, and he cut it short and jumped straight to the epilogue, and I was like, wait, I wanted to know what else was happening. So I might just say, if you write the other 7 chapters, maybe I'll throw in some mom extra credit points, for the school of mom.
Yes. Um,
But yeah, yeah. So that just leads us to the next thing. There is that the certificates of
mhm,
completion is what we issue as we're partnering with families. We will issue a certificate of completion, and on that will show the final percentage grade
mhm,
for the course, the individual course. And so they will get that. And then the other piece is, because everything is in Google Classrooms, you, as the parents, want to make sure that you go in with your student into their account and download the final projects, the really important assignments, those writing assignments that we're talking about in your class. Maybe it's the comparison essays or the critical analysis of poetry or some of those major pieces that you did, because those are excellent work samples to be able to show anybody that might ask in the future what your student did. And so that's part of this partnering. While we're doing the tutoring and the online piece, parents really need to come back around, circle around, and grab those assignments in their completion so they have them for their own personal records.
And part of that, when we're issuing the certificates of completion, we'll be messaging parents with all that information.
Yeah.
And all
Yeah,
that.
and those will go to the parents this year especially, rather than to the students, because we don't want them lost. No offense, students, but your parents need them right now more than you do. So, and they need to know where they're kept.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yes,
so what about looking ahead? Oh, you know what? We should say that we're shooting for that you should have the things downloaded that your student has done by the 15th. That gives us time to redo the classes for this coming year, right? And
yeah.
so as we step through into creating and refining the different things, people will be removed and other people will be hopefully added in over the summer and that kind of thing. So by the 15th is what we're hoping for parents.
Yeah. So looking ahead, if you are already enrolled in Arise and you've already got kids in Arise, and say you've already done year one classes and you're moving on to year two, you need to enroll for year two. So enrollment just now is open for returning students, and it would be great if you could do that enrollment um, within the next few weeks, and then that enables you as parents to set up payment plans early, and you can spread the cost over a
Right.
longer period. And we're going to talk about payment plans, but we have various different payment plans in place, and we work with parents to see what is going to be the most suitable for them to spread that cost. Um, class prices at the minute are at the lowest they will be. So we've got early enrollment prices on all our classes right now. So by enrolling now, you get the best possible price. You can set up a payment plan that can start like now, and you can spread that cost right through until like April next year. So each monthly payment is going to be less because you've got more months. So there's those benefits just to kind of getting those things put in place now. So next year we're going to be rerunning Brit 1, which again will still be Merchant of Venice, Shakespeare Term 1, Semester 2, Austen, Pride and Prejudice, with the poetry elements for both time periods with those classes as well. And Brit Year 2 will be running, and this year we're going to be doing Term 1, Semester 1, keep changing my terms. Semester 1 will be Dickens, and we're going to be reading Great Expectations. And there'll be poetry with that as well. And term 2 will be C.S. Lewis and that kind of early 20th century poetry. And we're going to be looking at kind of like almost like a mini Inklings type class, and really looking into that world of Lewis and Tolkien and their work and the contextualization, and being able to really interpret those texts within the ideas of the writers, but also the ideas of the times in which they have been written in. So it's going to be a really exciting class for those slightly older teens as they're able to think about these kind of bigger ideas. So that's Britlit. Shannan, you will still be doing
Yeah, British history.
Yes.
Yep, I'll do the companion class for British history for year one, just like we did this year, which will be Tudor era and Georgian era. And those two classes are they're necessary if the student is pursuing the UK exam in the English literature. And then if for all these classes that we're talking about, I think all of them but one and it's a new class, will be for a full year credit if students are following the US qualification model with the transcript. So history, British history, one, like I said, for tutor and Georgian, and then year 2 is going to be Victorian and modern. So it marries well with the literature. That's the goal of it. And it's contextual. So it's about the people of the time of the writers that we're looking at. And so that is how those will go. And there's it's the same idea as this year, but each course has a little bit of a twist of how we go about the event that the specific event that we plan the famous people and learn about them for. I'm not making a lot of sense here. So the contextual bit is based around an event where famous people that were alive at the time of the author go. And what that event is and what transpires there is going to be a little bit different for each set. Like it was different for the Tudor era than it was for the Georgian era, because in the Georgian era we had a surprise guest from a different era that needed to learn the cultural pieces to survive. So they had to create a survival guide for that. But so that kind of thing, just a little bit that's going to just switch it up enough, but they're still learning about the people and the important things of the time periods without a whole lot of names. Well, lots of names, but not a whole lot of dates and hard facts. It's really about getting into the heads of the people that were alive at the time and understanding them as individuals and their greatest accomplishments. All right, enough about that class. The other class I'm teaching that's brand new is Navigating Life, Skills for Success is the name of it. And so it is a course for high schoolers that are looking at, they're kind of maybe, maybe 14, but 15, 16, 17, that age range is perfect. We're going to go through, look at budgeting, creating CVs and personal statements, kind of those pieces that kids are on the cusp of if they're looking into employment and their first job, as well as preparing for UCAS personal statements and that kind of thing. It's going to help with all of that and really formulating those ideas for the later high school years and launching them successfully beyond. That's the goal of the class.
Yeah.
So it's been successful in the past. We've done it in co-op. And so we decided to bring it to the digital platform so that more can participate in it. And I'm excited to teach that one. It's always a fun one.
One of my boys done your mini, it was kind of like a mini version of it at co-op. And
yeah.
He found it really interesting. He found it, he didn't think he was going to find it interesting, but he found it interesting, and it really made him think about just real life things. And he came back from one of the classes and he's like, I'm going to do this. This was what we did today. It was all about budgeting. And I'm going to, when I get money, I'm going to be, he's 12, he doesn't have money. I'm going to do these ideas that Shannan was talking about. And it really made him think about the big adulting world. It's really practical, and it's all these skills that people bemoan don't get taught in schools.
And we do it in a fun way, because like one of the fun of budgeting assignments is they get to plan a trip, but in that they have to figure out the prices of all the things. And we always do it after we've done the major budgeting one, and it lands with, well, how much do you have in savings? Can you actually afford the trip you built? What are you going to have to do to make it happen now? And that kind of thing. So the reality of it is very concrete, but it's also really fun, and in that case imaginative, and helps them think through in a gentle way about what the future can look like for them and how to navigate that and take it a little bit slow. Sometimes my students in the past have felt like it's a really slow class because it's not heavily academic. It's not a huge amount of reading. It's not a huge amount of homework, but it is really thoughtful. And in that's what that time and space is necessary for. It's like to create a routine and learn a new task, or to think through, what do I really think about these certain things, what I want to do in the future, what I want my career to be, those kind of things. So So anyhow, that's a great and fun class. But it's a place where we get to say, but wait, there's more, right?
But oh, you also got your world geography class returning.
Oh goodness, yeah, my world geography class. Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that one because I'd mentioned it earlier about at the very beginning. So of course we're doing world geography, and that's my full year class with 250 plus countries that we study in the course of 30 weeks. And it is great fun. Current events are included, mapping, learning about the cultures, um, and not lots of projects, but 3 major projects that they get to do. If they're going to do the honors track, there's 4 major projects. And there is also 36 weeks of work if they choose honors. But that's something that if people are interested in what the honors track really is, as opposed to just the general or basic, then they can get a hold of me and I can explain that in more detail for them
And again,
specifically. But next, go ahead.
oh, so my 15-year-old did your world geography class this year, and he said it was one of the most useful classes he's ever done. He has learned
Oh, thank
so
you.
much
Yeah,
about just geography and that again, that contextualization of being able to take things that are being talked about, either current affairs or historically, or talking about
yeah,
maybe missionaries, and he's able to now he's got a framework to plug that in because you did all the different countries. He'll come and sit and there'll be some kind of just discussion about some kind of just current event or current affairs or something. There's something that's
yeah,
happening in
yeah.
the world, and he'll be able to bring intelligent, thoughtful ideas to the table because he's been given this foundation of knowledge to pull from to help formulate the ideas that he is having. I've been blown away by just the number of different conversations we've had about various things, not about geography, that have been enriched and informed because he's done Shannan's World Geography class. It is absolutely fantastic. So I would highly recommend it to any teen that to do,
But
because it does build
here,
this base of knowledge that is so important. Um,
yeah, and that is really the key. I'm thrilled that he did so well with it. Um, the key, when I have talked about it in the past in a video explaining it, I talk about the concept, and it's a Shakespeare quote: all the world is a stage, every man is a player. And if we think about that in its literal context, the world is the stage and life plays out on it in our cultures, within the physical boundaries and physical characteristics of the world. Then it does lay that foundation, and that is the goal of the class, to lay that foundation for the students to lay all these other ideas of knowledge and learning upon as they're taking other history classes, or they're taking literature, or they're taking political science or debate, or whatever the courses are, or wherever they go in life. It truly is a foundational springboard for so many high school classes.
yeah.
And that's the very reason why I created the course, and brought it to Arise to be able to teach it live, and just have those rich discussions in class and create the platform for parents to as well discuss with their kids. It's great. If nothing else, it provides great dinner conversation, doesn't it?
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
so we're going to look. Your internet's a bit glitchy. You keep freezing, just to warn you. So looking ahead, so these are our classes, but we've
Yep.
also been talking to other tutors to bring them on board so that we can broaden the classes that we have available. So coming this year, we've got Agnes Mitchell, who we've had on the podcast before. She spoke at the Arise conference in 2023. She was unable to be there this year because of sickness, but she coming back again with Gaelic. Year one, so an amazing introduction to the Gaelic language, and she teaches that already in state schools. She does night classes, so check out her Gaelic class. And she also has a class of logic and debate, and this is going to be done with the framework of Christian apologetics. And we're really excited to have her teach this class. She's done it again at our co-op, and she is excellent. This is going to be a class with big ideas, wrestling with really cultural shaping and molding things that are really pertinent for young believers, and well, any believer really, to really get a handle on. And she'll be really teaching and training up our young minds how to defend their faith, how to speak, how to apply the rules of logic. It's just a fantastic class. Shannon, do you want to say anything about it?
I'm looking forward to the logic and debate class too. Again, this is one we kind of test drove in mini sessions in a co-op, and the kids really thrived with it, and really they are taken from just the basics of fallacies in the first semester, and then fallacies and apologetics and learning to spot fallacies in the speeches of other famous people. And so that's really key, is to be
Yeah.
able to listen to the speeches of the world and find where it's not solid, I guess I should say. And then being able to respectfully, politely, there's a new word for us, politely um, rebut and refute arguments about the topics of today that are relevant to our teens. And some are in a fun way and that kind of thing. And if you know Agnes, or you've seen her or listened to her on the podcast, or other videos that she's done with us, she has just an amazing way of drawing the students out into a place of conversation about difficult things, and even helping them learn how. The great piece about the course, I think, is you're not always going to be doing a speech or a debate on something you agree with. You might have to take the opposite side, and that's just so important that we step into the shoes of others and understand how they think, so that we can be so we can approach them with gentleness and respect, but concrete evidence and thorough knowledge as well. So that's really cool. The other thing about Agnes with the Gaelic class is that is the one that I'm so excited for, that just for those of us in Scotland and elsewhere as well. Of course, anybody is welcome to join us on with it with the high school class. But with our home educators that are up in the north, or maybe they're out in the islands, this is really important. And if you've made the choice to bring your kids home, and you live in these rural areas, and you want to maintain the Scottish language and the Scottish culture that they would be learning in school, this is a great way to just continue with that, and continue with the Scottish heritage in your home education process, and not let that just move to the background. It's a great way to keep it in the foreground, and learn to use it in daily life and in other classes and that kind of thing. So I'm really excited about that one too.
I read, I can't remember the statistics, but there was a thing I saw yesterday, and it was all about the loss of languages and how many languages we lose every single day. And it would be a
Yeah.
tragedy if in modern Scotland today, that on our watch, we allowed Gaelic to be
Yeah.
lost for future generations. And I think future generations would.
And they're bringing it back in the schools.
They are bringing it back into schools, and so it's a very slow process. But I think, especially that the
Yeah.
church, especially in the north of Scotland, the church and Gaelic have such close connections, and there's such a
Yeah,
rich heritage of
they
psalm
do.
singing, and the Scottish church in the northwest of Scotland, their culture, their faith, their language, they're so intertwined. And Agnes brings that out in
They
her
really are.
class. Talking of languages, that brings us to Spanish. So we're looking to have year one Spanish. This will be a class for complete beginners. And to introduce, so if you've got a child, a teen who has so it's again, it's for teenager who has no Spanish. This will take them from the beginning and introduce them to the language. Spanish is the second most spoken language in terms of people in the world, second only to Mandarin. And our tutor, Esther Meldrum, she's a native Spanish speaker. She's from Mexico, and she will be teaching kids Spanish, but she'll also be, as a believer, she's got this heart for mission and for sharing the gospel. And we really see that in terms of missionary activity, there's so many Spanish-speaking countries that are that kids can go to and take the gospel to and to serve. And so this is a really great language to, as believers, to be really introducing our kids to if we're thinking missional mindedness. So that's another class that we've got coming up after the summer. And we also have church history, which is going to be taught by David Randall. Shannon, would you speak about that one?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and speak on the church history class. So Pastor David Randall is pastor at Falkirk Free Church, and he, again, it's one of those classes he was asked to teach just a few short sessions over, I think, 6 weeks or something at a co-op. And the kids, I kid you not, there was one day where 3 kids ran after him after he was done. He was on his way out to a meeting after he was done with his session. Were running after him with questions that these burning questions that they wanted him
Wow.
to answer. And so it was just like, oh my heavens, the kids love this class. They just soaked it up. And so we approached him and he agreed that he will do a full semester class for us. It's going to be in the autumn term. And so we have that, and it really is excellent. And David teaches kind of, in the States, we would call it like adjunct. So I don't know what they call it here when it's just part-time or on case-by-case basis, certain classes. But he has taught at ETS, so Edinburgh Theological College, and just really an engaging speaker with the kids and tutor for that. And so they're going to be covering, I guess, from resurrection forward. So from Acts, the Church of Acts forward to modern church. So when we put this together, after I had already put the title together and everything, I realized that it might be construed as being Catholic church history. And while that will be mentioned because that's the way the church moved a little bit, the focus really is on the evangelical side of everything. And so just for families to recognize that when we're saying church history, we mean the Church of Christ history of from the new believers on through to our modern day. And
Yeah.
all, it has lots of weaves and turns in that history. And he's going to cover those specifically, but the focus is truly on the evangelical church all the way up through modern times. So that is what we have so far for classes.
Oh, and we also
Did you talk
have,
about Hannah?
no, I didn't. I'm just coming to Hannah. So we've also got
Okay.
Hannah Smith who is joining us, and she is going to be doing iGCSE Combined Science with Cambridge. So this is a iGCSE science course which has a little bit biology, a little bit chemistry, and a little bit physics. Now, if your teens have anything like my teens, they may struggle to think what science to pick. I've had this with every single one of my teens. They've not known physics, biology, chemistry, which one to actually go for. So the Cambridge iGCSE Combined Science allows them to do a little bit of everything, gain that science, either that science credit or to gain that iGCSE in a science, which so many courses, if you look on college courses or university courses, they want that kind of that level of a science under their belt without having to pick which one. So it gives you that kind of broad scientific education. She'll also be doing, Hannah has a degree in mathematical physics, a master's degree. So she's also going to be doing iGCSE physics with us and GCSE astronomy and a pre-iGCSE maths class. So for your teens who are kind of coming up to that GCSE maths, are not quite there, this is a broad age range because we know that as home educators, you'll have kids who are 10 or 11 and are just brilliant at maths and are ready to kind of think about the concepts of iGCSE, but their maturity might not quite but get there because iGCSE is meant for, well, by the end of it, is the exam is designed for a 16-year-old to sit. This will allow those kids to do some of these concepts to lay that foundation to then jump into iGCSE. Or if you've got a child who struggles with maths, they might be 14, but they just can't cope with the iGCSE. This would be a great class for them as well. So you've got this quite a broad age range with, where whenever you're slotting, it's just a really good class that and I know a lot of parents, they can find good solid stuff primary school maths. They're kind of aiming for the iGCSE, but that kind of bit in the middle, it can be it's a bit tougher to find a fit there. So Hannah will be doing that class as well. So we're super excited to have Hannah on board with us as a new tutor. And so yeah, there's a lot happening in the background, and we're in discussion with other people as well, but those things have not been finalized yet. So there might be more coming in the next couple of weeks. So just keep tuned. Have we covered everything,
So
Shannan?
for a recap, I think what we should do, because we just have a couple minutes left here, is we should give a recap about classes, and then we'll have like a part 2 video. It's going to be just like our classes for regular school, where we come back in 5 minutes, right? So I think new classes, open enrollment is open. We have payment plans where with, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, a 50-pound deposit can get you set up. We have bundles. So if you are thinking you want more than one class, then look at the bundles. You'll save a little bit more. And then if you can spread the bundle out as well. It doesn't have to be just the single classes that are spread out. So we've created lots of ways for families to save. And so we're happy to work with anybody on those things. So whether you're UK students following UK exam prep, we've got classes for you. If you are considering the model for the US qualifications and you're not quite sure, we're a great place, and I'll say it, a great place to sit on the fence like I did until the decision needed to be made. You can be doing the UK coursework and then decide if you're going to take the exam or just put it on transcript and do SAT, go that route. As well as what else? I think super excited. There's going to be videos coming up about each of the classes specifically with the tutor. Those will be coming up in the weeks to come. So anything else, Emma, that you want to share about classes?
We are capping class sizes at 10 students. We really believe, especially for online education, it needs to be small. If it's too big, you can lose people on Zoom. We want a quality educational experience for your kids. So it'll be a cap of 10 students. So so if you, with the open enrollment, £50 will secure your seat in those classes. With some of the classes, if they reach 10 quickly, we'll look at opening another session up. But if you enroll with us, your kids are not going to be in a class with like 30 kids and they'll be lost there. These are small classes where we can really get to know your kids and work with them. And that's what we found with the classes we've had this year. We've really been able to connect with the kids we've had in the class.
Right. So low class ratio, tutor to student ratio of 1 to 10. And then also, best price of the season is right now,
Mhm.
and late registration when that begins later in the summer, the price will go up with that. So what you see on the website where it says sale on the products, that's there. And don't forget there's samples out there
Yeah.
of almost every class. I think every class so far there is at least one sample. So you can see our teaching styles. And as our new tutors are coming on, we're hopeful that we will have those for their classes as well. In the meantime, for those classes, if you have questions, let us know, and we can find the answers or point you towards the direction of the answers. Some of the courses on the website don't necessarily have the link yet to the specific text that's going to be used. That should be coming in the next day or two, I think. And so that shouldn't be too much of a problem. But I tell you what, as excited that I am that we have finished our first year, I'm more excited about the year to come, to see what God is doing and how he is truly preparing a way
Yes.
for our kids to get the education they need and the education they deserve. And that to me is the most important, the education they deserve from a Christ-centered place that is going to help families promote their Christian family values, and just really be ready to take the world by storm, if you will, and light a fire under them, and um, allow them to just continue to integrate their faith with their learning. These two things do not and should not be separate, in my opinion.
Mhm.
And to help them learn to think of those things together and to exercise how to live a godly life in the world we live in. So I'm thrilled, and I truly am so excited for next year. To see what God has done in just the last 2 weeks has been phenomenal,
Yeah.
for us, and so I'm thrilled to be able to share that with people.
Brilliant. Okay, well, I think we are about out of time, and yeah, so stay tuned for part 2 coming up very soon. It was lovely
Yep.
catching up with you. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.